So good morning, this is the West Midlands People Podcast, the April version. I'm John Morris, Director for West Recruitment, and I'd like to welcome Ryan Price, who's our Business Development Manager, and our guest this week, Matt O'Crowley from Tanki Limited. Welcome, Matt.
Hello.
So, Matt, obviously this is Ryan's first podcast for us, and from what Ryan tells me, you're quite prominent on the old social media. So, if you kind of like just tell us a little bit about yourself and Tanki.
So I mean, nothing special. So I used to work in the Merchant Navy, driving boats, and so I kind of like driving things. I've driven pretty much everything apart from an electric train. So I've driven Thomas the Tank Engine. I've driven a few steam trains. I've driven traction engines. I can fly airplanes. I can drive ships. And years ago, I even had a paddle steamer that I restored and drove around, which is quite a laugh. But in the transport world, one of the things that is always a problem is toilets. And if ever you've been, down to a yachting place and you go on the pontoon and you're talking to boat owners, it's impossible not to talk about loos. And how to use them, and these awful people that don't know how to use them and cause blockages. So toilets and transport go together brilliantly well. I've worked all around the world. I've worked in the UK, obviously. I mean, it's pretty hard as a British guy not to have worked in the UK, but I've worked in Angola and around Europe, Middle East, Southeast Asia, and America, and what have you, doing health and safety.
Okay.
But doing health and safety with a twist, because the stuff that I did was all very, very high risk. So I was working in the oil and gas industry, where we were doing things on a day-to-day basis that your kind of communal garden health and safety dude would die if he or she kind of saw what we had to do. So my health and safety background has always been about managing super high risk stuff, but making sure that if you do something, it's not about necessarily not hurting people or not allowing something to happen. It's how do you allow something to happen successfully? So how do you create successful failures? So people don't get hurt. So that's one of my soapboxes. Okay. When the pandemic hit, the world of traveling, of traveling around and teaching people about successful safety failures and and strategy and all that sort of thing kind of fell out. I mean, there was no market for that, and I sat there and thought, what am I going to do? So I gave myself 7 days to come up with a product. So I gave myself the sort of challenge that I would give my clients, which is, we've got a problem here. Let's not sit around and think about it for 3 years. Let's solve it this week. I realised that selling services is hard in a pandemic time, as you guys probably found in recruitment. It is really, really hard, really tough and hard. Much easier to have a product. And I'm surrounded by my product now, which is 1,300 years worth of toilet roll, which I'm very keen to share with people. But again, using the sort of logic that I would give to my safety clients. There's no point doing something unless it solves a problem. And so my toilet paper is designed not to block things up. And by happy coincidence, it turned into an environmentally friendly product. It wasn't the intention. The intention was to create a non-blocking toilet paper for like the Greek islands and my second home in the Canary Islands, which is lovely. And there are places where you have that ghastly lavatory bin. Yes. So you're not supposed to flush the toilet. Well, nobody bothers with that. You flush it down the loo, the sewer's blocked. So my thinking was, how do we solve that? And there we go. That's Tanki.
Okay. So your product, it's glue-free, is that right?
It's glue-free. So this is right. I've got some here. This is my Blue Peter moment. Ha ha ha! Look, Tanki. When we were looking into what causes blockages. So again, health and safety consultant hat on. Find a root cause analysis on everything. That's simple, isn't it? So my immediate supposition was that you had to make the paper as thin as you dare. Not the case at all. We've got a product which is looks and feels just like anything you buy in the supermarket. But what we found that there are some root causes there. Lamination glue. So in the UK, we flush 22,000 tons of glue down the toilet every year for our own convenience. It's pointless. We don't need it. So we strip that away. Also, we contaminate our toilet paper with all sorts of things. I mean, we put these like fake chemical versions of aloe vera and jojoba, whatever one of those things is. And you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's all to make toilet paper luxury. And I don't know about you guys, but when was the last time you wiped your bum and went, "Ooh, that was luxurious"? I can't think of a single time that's happened with me.
Apart from when you used to use the school toilet paper that was like tracing paper.
And the Isle stuff. Do you know there was a reason for that? And so now I've become like this expert in bog rolls now. It's just so cool. But Isle toilet paper, I've never been able to understand because it was so awful, wasn't it? It was like non-stick paper. But it had a purpose. It was designed for when we didn't have inside toilets. It was designed for the outside loo.
Okay.
If you think the modern loo roll, if you put it out in the outside loo, it would absorb all the water, the moisture, and it would get all horrible, and you would be able to use it. So that was what Isle was for. It was designed not to be absorbed.
Okay.
And that kind of was it.
It was horrid stuff.
I don't remember that then, by the way.
It was amazing. Absolutely.
I mean, Matt, in terms of Tanki, obviously, what team did you have around you when it first sort of established, when you decided on the idea? How did you pick a team, or did you have people already in mind?
I've got this the most incredible network that I've been building for years, and I'm one of these weird people. Like, if you see me on LinkedIn, you'll see me having a good old rant every now and again. You know, and it's, you know, whatever, don't care. But it's generally, you know, there's generally a good cause behind it. But I've got this sort of incredible network of thousands of people, and the majority of the people in my network I've at least spoken to once, and I've never asked anything of them. You know, I've never kind of gone in and said, "Hey, I want you to buy my service. I want to buy my product. Buy this. Give me money. Give me work." I've always used it as just like a soft, you know, let's help each other out. Let's be friends. I've never been one to be particularly professional. You know, I'm a HR manager's nightmare. But you know, but my network, if in the early days, was my team, and so anybody that gave me the opportunity to chew their ears off about loo roll, it happened. As we've grown, you know, and we're still very much early days, but you know, our Tanki family is probably around about 150 people now.
Right.
And I think it's because of the pandemic, and you know, and again, you know, building a network without actually, you know, hard selling all the time. You know, it's all contributed to us being the beneficiaries of the most enormous amounts of kindness and generosity and help that you could imagine. And you know, getting hold of people during the pandemic, as you guys in recruitment will know, you know, is pretty hard. And so we made a decision to get this company out there based on character and personality, social hand grenade type approach, and it's broken some doors down. We're part of one of the biggest distribution networks in the country for the leisure and yachting market. We're very, very proud to be part of a brand new venture going into the hotel market with a company called Greener Guest. And it's nice actually because there's a link with the Canary Islands there, because Jo, that's sort of one of the, you know, has been driving that to get it going. She's from Las Palmas in Gran Canaria.
Oh, amazing.
So that's super cool. And but yeah, it's I always say to people, it's actually, people say, oh, it must have been really hard to set the company up. It actually hasn't. It's been pretty easy, but only because the groundwork has been, you know, it's taken a decade of groundwork, if you like. But I didn't, you know, building a network, but not entirely sure how I'm going to use it or what it's going to be for. And the reason was this, and so we've done really, really well.
That's quite impressive, considering, like you say, doing that throughout lockdown, be quite brave with a new idea. It sounds like it's been a success story so far. So you're based, we were talking before we came on air. So you're based over in Shrewsbury area. So how many people do you kind of tend to employ from that area?
To be honest with you, we're not really in the employment game yet. We will be. And I was talking with a potential candidate who I really, and I mean, this is something for your candidates that might be quite useful. I think the recruitment these days is pretty rubbish. I think we're way overusing artificial intelligence on CV sifting. I don't have a traditional university degree. I went to university, and it was part of my merchant navy thing. And merchant navy mariners, there's loads of them all around the country that are looking for work at the moment because the shipping industry is in trouble. These are people who have studied meteorology to high levels. They've studied stability, advanced and applied mathematics at high levels. But because their qualification doesn't have BA Hons at the end of it, we just have a COC. They really struggle to get into places, and they struggle to sell their skills. Yeah. But last week I was contacted by a really driven guy who is from a completely tangential kind of career path, but he had the balls to get in touch and sell himself without being salesy. B, he actually did his homework and his research, and C, he was relaxed. He wasn't upset. He wasn't uptight. He was just relaxed. He got it in the mindset. Look, I've got nothing to lose. This guy might be able to offer me a job. I've found places where I can assist this company and what have you. And to be honest with you, he gave a fantastic pitch, but he gave a business pitch. He didn't give a candidate pitch.
Yeah.
And I think as the world moves out of COVID and out of pandemic mode, I think a lot more employers are going to be looking for that. They're going to be looking for business pitches, business partners, as opposed to members of staff. And certainly from my point of view, that's what we will be looking for. When we start our recruitment, when we move away from using contractors and self-employed people, and we start bringing more in-house, I'm looking for really, really top dollar hires who will become heads of department. Yeah. That's what I'm looking for, and there are so many companies like that at the moment that have got the same kind of outlook. But I would say to anyone looking for a job at the moment, jobs don't exist. You're going into to head up a business unit, even if you're just in admin. And I say just in admin. It's there's no just about it. It's really important. But you've got to go in with a mindset that you're going to go in and head up a business unit.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the playing field has changed. I mean, some companies during COVID who are not willing to diversify are kind of being left behind a little bit. The way that they utilise the staff is being a bit different. Like you said, it's not just about a job now; it's what that individual can bring to that business, rather
Absolutely.
than that's your job. That's all I need you to do. Now the people are saying, well, let's look at your skill set. Let's look what you can really bring to us. And I think you're absolutely right on that front. So, if people wanted to get hold of your product, Matt, how could they go about doing it?
Well, they can go on our website, tanki.co.uk, and they can buy it directly from there.
Okay.
Link above.
Link above, is it? I can't see it. Yeah, I'm sure
it will be.
It will be there.
But it's going into. It's annoying because I can't name them yet because there's legal things to happen first. But it's going to be going into a number of national chains in the Shropshire area. There's lots of farm shops and independent retailers selling it as well. But it's certainly a product that you're going to see more and more of. We've got new products to bring online and all this sort of things, which is really exciting. And I hope it's going to be, I hope the new products are going to be as simple as our first.
Yeah, that's exciting.
It
sounds exciting. I mean, obviously, we always prepare some questions, for our viewers, and I think going on to your kind of like expertise in terms of environmentally, friendly advice. Is there any advice you can give to I don't know, companies and individuals on how they can reduce? I mean, I know there's all the stuff that we read in newspapers, on the internet. There's things on the news all the time. But is there anything? I mean, toilet paper is not one that comes up as a a key kind of. Oh, I didn't really think about that. So is there anything else that you think that we
Yeah, so there's this really cool thing called ISO 14001 2015 standards. So it's the International Environmental Protection Management System standard thingy. And companies get very excited about it, and they get the balloons out when they get their audit results and they've passed. But frankly, apart from the EHS manager or whoever, if he really understands what it is. So ISO 14001, along with ISO 45001 to do with safety, ISO 9001 to do with quality, all this sort of thing. All it is basically a commitment to improve. And the auditor comes in, and I used to do the audits for these things. The auditor comes in, and they're looking at what was the picture last year, what's the picture this year, where are the improvements, and what are you going to do next year. For a lot of companies that have had this certification for a long time, it gets really, really hard to think, well, hang on, we've put LED lights in, we're not printing stuff off, we've got low flush toilets, we've put some electric car charge points in. What else is there we can do? And it's about it's looking at people's, trying to encourage people to change their behaviours. So there's lots of things that can be done. Tanki, of course, is the most important thing that everyone should have in their office. But actually, for different reasons than you may think, because it is designed to disperse and not hang around in a toilet bowl, you end up using less water. And everyone uses a toilet, and everyone will relate to the fact, you kind of use the loo, and then there's that one sheet that will not flush, and it kind of sits there and pirouettes and moves around, this sort of thing. And you end up flushing the loo maybe 4 or 5 times because you don't want to leave it there for the next person. So you've used 5 times the amount of water that you need to do because of one sheet of paper that's there. So that's one of the fabulous things that we can help with. Obviously, we've mentioned the lamination glue. When I was at sea, if I had 22,000 tons of lamination glue on my ship and I chucked it into the sea, I'd be prosecuted. And we do that legally in this country every single year, and we don't need it, as we've discussed. But in terms of, oh my God, I don't know about you guys in your office, but one of the things that used to make me literally laugh off my chair was in the winter when we put the heating on in the office, and people get too hot, and so instead of opening a window or turning the heating down, they would switch on the air conditioning. So we would be paying to heat the building, paying to cool the building, and forgetting that windows open. And that's something that's quite good. I used to put a lot on the air conditioning power supply to stop people switching it on occasionally, because I used to get so annoyed. But it was great seeing like the energy use curves. We used to track it every month.
Matt, I will say on that front, in our last office, mine and John's, we did that, but instead we put a lock onto the heating, because the heating was that hot when we used to come in. We actually snapped off the gauge so no one could turn it up, actually, and people used to come in, and I'll say no names on the podcast, but you know who you are if you are watching. Yeah, we had to.
But it is incredible because it's all about we've got World Earth Day coming up, right? It's one of my hates. I hate these things because at the end of the day, it's a day of global action, right? All you got to do is just very tiny, simple things every day, and that whole event is unnecessary. Whether it's reduce your speed in your car by 10 miles an hour, whether it's learn to use your gear stick properly, whether it's to whatever it is. There's always something you can do to reduce your impact on the environment. But obviously, the most important one is wipe your bum with Tanki.
Absolutely. Right, Matt, if I can, I just want to change the focus a little bit, if that's okay, because I know you're a massive advocate, and so is our commercial director, Ashley, on mental health. Something we've recently, again, Ashley's done a podcast on it, and you can see that. Again, I'll tag Ashley's page up above. Massive advocate on mental health, and it's how it's affecting workforces, etc. It's a massive part of day-to-day life at the minute. So what's your involvement in sort of this awareness?
I've been involved in mental health sort of campaigning, if you like, for years now. it all came about because when I was at Maritime College, it's turned out that two of my classmates are now dead through completely preventable suicide. The mental health of seafarers is a really big issue. But actually, I think I've said to you already, if I put my safety hat on, because I've investigated accidents and incidents up to and including $11.5 million losses, you do root cause analysis. And if you do a decent RCA, then you can actually come to a solution. Very often the solution is management. So there's two types of or two streams to think about. We use mental health as a big umbrella term. And it goes from mild to moderate depression, but it also includes things like schizophrenia and bipolar. And bipolar and schizophrenia is something that's very often diagnosed later on in life. It's something that comes in the sort of mid to late 20s, early 30s, something like that. And we do a disservice to mental health by putting it under one umbrella, and companies deciding we're going to get a mental health first aider. That's it. Box ticked. We've solved it. It's not. It's a very sort of clunky solution to things. But one of the things that a company can do to really benefit mental health for their workforce and the people, the extended family of the business as well, is to think about how you manage people. Think about how you manage people's workloads, because stress is something that can be traded. You sell stress onto your workers by delegating. You can also buy it back if you can see that someone's struggling. And so if we start to see stress commercially as a marketplace where it can be bought and sold, then that does help. But some of the easy wins which are promoted, i.e. let's get a mental health first aider on site, it's a good thing. But a mental health first aid course does not teach you how to give counselling. All it does is it gives you the ability to maybe spot something, give people reassurance that they're not mad, and they're not weird, and there is somewhere to go, but they really do need to pass them on and let go of them. Mental health first aid is not about having somebody on site giving counselling. That is dangerous.
Just more awareness.
More awareness, but I've worked in an organisation where there was somebody that went and did their week's training, and they were giving hours counselling sessions a week to people at work, and I had to step in and stop it because it is dangerous. It's not. It doesn't make you a therapist, and so I would advise people, do what you can, but instead of going for the easy win, sending someone on a course, think about stress and anxieties and struggles that you can trade, because we sell it and you can buy it back. It's
an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, but always, whenever there's a problem, and mental health at work, and mental health at sea, and mental health at school, and all this sort of thing, it all happens. But instead of looking at it, through this sort of umbrella, do a root cause analysis. If people are, if one person unlucky, two people, we've got a problem, three people, four people, hang on a minute, is it us as an organisation? If that's the case, then get on the root cause analysis. If you want to do Ishikawa or whatever weird method you want to use, it doesn't matter. Just do it.
Yeah, it's obviously high on a lot of companies' agendas at the moment, and like you say, I think a lot of companies are starting to put people in like the mental health first aiders. But yeah, I mean, professional help is needed a lot of the time, and but it's good. I mean, I think 5-10 years ago, it was hardly ever mentioned within business.
But professional help doesn't just include professional medics. It also includes professional management. And there's a lot of people in management positions that haven't been trained to manage people. They've kind of landed there by accident, and one thing they can't really do is actually what they're paid to do. But it is really important. Root cause analysis. There's always a solution. If a problem exists, there's always a solution, always, without fail. And so professional management assistance is just as important as professional medical assistance.
Yeah, that's some good advice. We'll kind of steer off. I know obviously you said you served in the Navy for a while. So what's the favourite place that you visited?
I've never been anywhere nice. I was I was working in the oil and gas sector mainly, and I don't know why, but when God was deciding where to put oil, I think he was having a bit of a giggle. He doesn't really put oil or gas in nice places to visit.
So there's probably no favourite place in there. Then it's just a mixture of the bad and the ugly, I suppose.
Yeah, I can remember. I mean, the place that made me laugh more than anything was I was going down the Congo River, and I was thinking about was it Ribena or something, and they had Kiora.
It was Umbongo. Umbongo, wasn't it? Yeah.
And on the advert, on the cartoon, they had that black and white bird flying. And I was going down the Congo River, and that exact bird flew past me. I thought, how cool is that?
Did you recite the advert, the jingle in your head?
It was going through the back of my head.
Yeah.
And I thought that was absolutely lovely. And I was going along, and it was all very beautiful. And then all of a sudden, a big oil refinery came into view. And I was like, "Oh God, again!" And then I took my boiler suit off because it was very, very, very humid and muggy. And a monkey jumped on and stole it. It was a good boiler suit. So I had to jump off and go and recover my boiler suit from a monkey.
Where?
Well, not a nice place though. Absolute,
So how long? I mean, you're based obviously in Shrewsbury at the moment. So how long have you been in the area for?
I came here probably about 2 years, just under 2 years ago. And I came over literally to work on one single project. I was expecting to be here for about 8 months, and then return back to my home in Gran Canaria.
Yeah.
And then all this COVID nonsense happened, and all this sort of, oh no. So I kind of got stuck. So if you're stuck somewhere, don't complain about it. Go get yourself a warehouse, rack it out, and fill it full of bog.
Save the planet at the same time as well. Save the planet at the same time.
Save the planet. Save the toilet. You've seen on LinkedIn or anything, but we got bored with Zoom, so we decided to stop. We turned an actual toilet into a puppet called Bob the Bog. We do these really professional Zoom calls, but when we can't be bothered, we might not have done our hair or ironed a shirt, so we just get behind that and just use Bob the Bog to represent.
So the next podcast is going to be at Tanki headquarters.
Yeah, Tanki Towers.
Yeah.
So you've got a place over whereabouts in Gran Canaria? Is your place?
Terror.
Which
is up in the mountains.
Yeah, we've got one in between Portamagán and Amadores.
Oh, cool! Yeah. It's lovely. The water in Morgan is just it's just amazing, isn't it? Because you look down through and just see the bottom of the sea. It's like
it's lovely. It's like a mini Venice almost.
No, it's not.
No. I think some of the locals might like to think that.
It's nothing like Venice. Venice is really nice, and
it's lovely.
It's all right.
So, Ryan, have you got anything to add?
No, I've covered my basis on sort of the mental health, and as I mentioned to anyone watching this, this podcast, thinking, right, some of the topics have been discussed. I'm keen to know more. Then again, look above. You'll see Matt's profile above. So please connect him with Matt. You'll see the Tanki website, and then hopefully we can incorporate and put some detail on the mental health side as well. So I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Matt for this. My first podcast. Been very, very, very informative and very easy. I'll be honest, Matt. So you've been a perfect candidate to sort of have on our first podcast, first sort of guest. So thank you very much.
Pleasure.